Have you noticed? Every cereal box proudly shouts 100% whole grain. Yet according to the Whole Grains Council, many of them contain only a trace of real grains, with the rest being refined flour and additives. This doesn't just betray consumers' trust, making them believe they're eating healthy. It also forces them to take in empty calories, raising the risk of obesity, diabetes, and even heart disease. Even worse, at Kroger, there are 9 popular cereals pushing millions of American families into this hidden trap. If 100% whole grain can't even be trusted, is your daily breakfast truly safe? And more urgently, which 9 cereals are on the list? Cheerios. They sit quietly on the breakfast table, a round, golden promise in every bowl. For decades, Cheerios, especially the original and honey nut varieties, have been sold as America's most wholesome start to the day. Made with 100% whole grain oats and stamped with the iconic Heart Healthy badge, they are the poster child for clean living, trusted by grandparents and new parents alike. The brand has become more than cereal. It is a symbol of stability, of quiet mornings where health feels simple. But when you place that halo under a microscope, the cracks begin to show. In February 2024, the Environmental Working Group, EWG, released findings that shook the oat supply chain. Independent lab tests revealed the presence of chlormequat, a growth regulator widely used in conventional oat production, in many oat-based foods sold in US grocery stores. Though levels varied, the fact remained. This chemical, restricted in Europe, was showing up in products Americans eat daily. While no single box of Cheerios was singled out as the sole culprit, EWG reported chlormequat residues in 92% of oat-based samples tested. EWG, February 2024. For a cereal built on the slogan 100% whole grain oats, the news was a quiet betrayal. Whole grain? Perhaps. Whole truth? Not so much. Layer this with the brand's sugar profile, and the narrative gets stickier. The USDA's updated nutrition standards for school and childcare programs, finalized in April 2024, set a cap of less than or equal to 6 grams of added sugar per ounce of cereal. USDA FNS 2024. Honey Nut Cheerios, the top-selling variant in the US, clocks in above that limit per serving. For older adults managing insulin sensitivity and children whose morning sugar spike crashes by midday, this is no harmless sweetness. It's a metabolic roller coaster dressed in a heart-shaped logo. The everyday pain point is simple. In a retirement community, a grandfather eats Cheerios every morning, believing he's doing his arteries a favor. His doctor tells him his fasting glucose is creeping higher, his blood pressure too. The irony? The very cereal marketed as heart healthy may be undermining his metabolic health. It's not an emergency room headline, it's the quiet erosion of trust, meal by meal. Let's give this paradox a name. The halo ring with a footnote. A perfect circle, yes, but one accompanied by a tiny asterisk. Conditions apply. The question that lingers is sharp. If 100% whole grain oats still carry chemical shadows and sugar traps, what does healthy even mean on a supermarket shelf? There is, of course, a way out. Picture a mother in Kroger, squinting at labels with her child tugging at her sleeve. She puts the honey nut box back and reaches for plain steel-cut oats instead. She sprinkles cinnamon, adds blueberries, and knows exactly what's in her child's breakfast. No marketing campaign needed, just whole food, less than 6 grams of added sugar per ounce, and no residues lurking in fine print. For seniors, for night shift drivers, for anyone on a tight budget, this small swap delivers steady energy instead of empty promises. The lesson is stark but human. Food is a living contract between producer and eater. When companies polish halos while leaving chemical fingerprints, they don't just damage bodies, they fracture trust. And in America, it's the elderly, the low-wage workers, and the children who pay the steepest price for illusions at the checkout aisle. But Cheerios is only the first layer of the story. If even the cereal with the heart-healthy crown hides asterisks, what happens when an entire brand line is forced into federal recall? The next bowl in this journey takes us straight into that reality. Quaker oatmeal squares. The box looks reassuring. almost academic. Quaker oatmeal squares. With its squared-off edges and promise of wholesome whole grains, it speaks directly to adults who want something solid, not sugary fluff. The marketing message is clear. Here is the breakfast that bridges health and stability. It's the cereal that claims to be grown-up, fiber-packed, the antidote to rainbow-colored kids' cereals. On the surface, it feels like the safe bet for your pantry shelf. But on January 11th, 2024, that safe bet cracked open. The US Food and Drug Administration, FDA, posted an expanded recall notice covering a wide range of Quaker products, including multiple breakfast cereals, due to potential salmonella contamination, FDA, January 11th, 2024. Suddenly, those square pieces that once symbolized order and discipline were associated with the microscopic chaos of foodborne illness. Salmonella isn't theoretical. According to the CDC, it causes about 1.35 million infections, 26,500 hospitalizations, and 420 deaths every year in the US, CDC, updated 2024. For older adults, children, or anyone with a weakened immune system, that risk is more than numbers. It's a potential trip to the emergency room. Imagine the motif. The morning calm of a family breakfast table, interrupted by the shrill blare of a recall alert crawling across the TV screen. Boxes that once looked dependable now flash on a ticker like mugshots. Best if used by dates, lot codes, SKUS. The cereal aisle is no longer a symbol of nourishment, but a crime scene in slow motion. This is not just a crack in the Quaker image. It's a full siren. Let's give it a biting nickname. Recall squares. They are supposed to be neat and tidy, but when contamination hits, those neat lines crumble fast. And the question that stings is obvious. If a brand that prides itself on heritage and trust can end up on a federal recall list, what does that say about the safety net we assume every time we pour a bowl of cereal? The everyday pain is vivid. Picture an older truck driver grabbing a bowl of oatmeal squares before a long shift. He trusts the fiber will help him stay full, keep him steady. A week later, he reads the FDA notice online, realizing the exact product in his cupboard is on the recall list. The dread of not knowing if yesterday's stomach cramps were a bad sandwich or something much worse, salmonella lurking in his breakfast, becomes a haunting reminder of how fragile that trust can be. What's the alternative? It doesn't have to be paranoia, but it does require vigilance. A grandmother checks her pantry and finds the recalled lot number. Instead of ignoring it, she brings it back to Kroger, gets her refund, and chooses plain rolled oats to cook on the stovetop. It's not flashy, but it's safe. Heat destroys bacteria, and transparency means she knows exactly what she's eating. For people on fixed incomes, it's also a reminder that sometimes the simplest foods, less processed, cooked fresh, can be the most reliable. The lesson here is sharper than fiber. Food safety isn't just about nutrients. It's about trust that the supply chain won't break down on you. A recall is the last resort alarm bell, proof that something went wrong in production, storage, or oversight. And while Quaker has issued recalls responsibly, the consumer is left holding the emotional bill. Doubt every time they walk down that aisle. So if a cereal designed to be the adult choice can still land on the recall list, what happens when the product is deliberately designed to appeal to kids with candy colors and cartoon captains? The next bowl might look like a rainbow, but it comes with a chemical sting. Cap'n Crunch. A smiling cartoon captain, a ship full of fun, and cereal pieces that look like confetti in a bowl. Cap'n Crunch has been a sugary staple in American childhoods for decades. The commercials promise adventure, joy, and energy. It's not just cereal, it's a Saturday morning ritual, a Technicolor fantasy in a box. The brand thrives on nostalgia, with adults buying it as much for memory's sake as for taste. But the bright colors that sell joy may be selling something else, a chemical illusion. Here's the turn. In November 2023, the FDA officially banned red dye number 3 from use in foods due to evidence linking it to thyroid tumors in animal studies and long-standing concerns about hyperactivity in children. Yet, As of mid-2024, cereals like Cap'n Crunch, in some variants, continue to use synthetic dyes like Red 40, Yellow 5, and Blue 1, all of which remain under scrutiny. A 2024 update from the California Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment warned that such dyes may contribute to behavioral issues in sensitive children. California, OEHHA, 2024. The bright palette that looks like fun is, in fact, a chemical strategy to mask the simplicity of corn and sugar underneath. The everyday pain point is sharper than marketing admits. Picture a father who pours Cap'n Crunch into a bowl for his daughter before school. She leaves the house bouncing with energy, but crashes by mid-morning, her teacher reporting distraction and irritability. For families managing ADHD, the dyes add one more invisible obstacle. It's not just about sugar anymore, it's about chemical pigments interfering with childhood focus. The American Academy of Pediatrics has warned since 2018 about artificial food colors and their links to hyperactivity. New state-level legislation in California in 2024 shows that concern is only growing. Let's frame it with a creative motif. The cereal aisle as a stage set. The lights flash, the captain salutes, and the colors dazzle. But pull the filter off and the bowl turns drab, corn, sugar, and synthetic colorants masquerading as fruit and adventure. Call it what it is, the rainbow ruse. The question that lingers is deadly simple. If joy in a bowl requires a chemical disguise, what's the cost we're ignoring? There is a way out, though it takes intention. Imagine a parent walking through Kroger, skipping the color splash boxes and heading for plain granola sweetened with honey or homemade oatmeal with strawberries. They may pay a little more time or effort, but the payoff is real. Natural colors, natural sweetness, no need to decode a dye chart. For night shift workers and families on a budget, even simple steps, like buying bulk oats and adding frozen fruit, can strip away the chemical filter while keeping mornings bright. The broader lesson isn't just dietary, it's cultural. When we let cartoons and neon colors dictate children's diets, we cede control of health to marketing departments. The danger isn't only in the dyes, it's in the normalization of disguising sugar and additives as fun. The victims aren't just kids bouncing off the walls, they're parents blamed for behavior problems, teachers overwhelmed in classrooms, and workers exhausted by unstable energy cycles. And here comes the cliffhanger. If Cap'n Crunch still sails under a rainbow flag of synthetic dyes, what happens when we open a box that outright pretends to be fruit? The next cereal doesn't just color your milk. It rewrites the definition of healthy with a sugar load that would shock you. Fruit Loops. It's the box that practically shouts from the shelf. Fruit Loops, with a rainbow toucan promising fun and fruit in every bite. The brand's playful spelling, fruit instead of fruit, has been a wink to children and parents alike for decades. Commercials show a cheerful breakfast table, kids giggling as milk turns pink and blue. It feels like harmless fun, a fruity carnival to start the day. But here's the catch. Behind the bright bird and the cartoon joy, there isn't much fruit at all, just sugar, and a lot of it. The turn comes with numbers, and they don't laugh. In April 2024, the USDA finalized its new nutrition standards for school meals and childcare programs, setting a clear cap. No more than 6 grams of added sugar per ounce of cereal, USDA/FNS, April 2024. Compare that to Fruit Loops, which packs in about 12 grams of added sugar per serving, approximately 1 ounce. That's nearly double the federal standard. For a product marketed as fruit-inspired, the irony is sharp. The only fruit in the picture is the cartoon toucan on the box. The everyday reality is sobering. Imagine a night shift worker pouring a bowl of Fruit Loops at 6 a.m., hoping for quick energy before bed. He crashes within the hour, his blood sugar swinging like a pendulum. Or picture a mother sending her son to school with a quick bowl of cereal. By mid-morning, the teacher is dealing with distraction, fatigue, and mood swings. The sugar high has worn off. The cereal aisle is full of these quiet betrayals. but few are as blatant as the one that spells fruit without containing it. Let's give it a biting nickname: Sweet Deception. A cereal that markets itself as fruit while delivering little more than coloured sugar rings is deception dressed in neon. The question that lingers is painful. If something that openly trades on fruit has none of its benefits, what else in our food system is built on illusions? The motif here is a barcode scanner. Imagine a shopper at Kroger running the box past a scanner that doesn't show a price, but a sugar warning. 12 grams added sugar per ounce, exceeds USDA limit. Suddenly the colourful box doesn't look fun, it looks like evidence. And the evidence cuts deeper. According to the CDC, more than 37 million Americans live with diabetes, and excessive added sugars are a leading driver of obesity and metabolic disease. CDC 2024 update. For older adults and low-income workers who rely on cheap cereals for breakfast, the health costs pile up far faster than grocery savings. There is a better way. Picture a parent making a quick swap. Instead of Fruit Loops, they grab unsweetened muesli or plain whole grain cereal and add sliced bananas or frozen berries. It takes the same 2 minutes to prepare, but the difference is lasting. Real fruit sugars, fiber and vitamins instead of synthetic colours and an insulin spike. For truck drivers, for retirees on a fixed income, for kids rushing out the door, these swaps aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. The broader lesson is cultural. When cartoons and sugar masquerade as health, we normalise deception as breakfast. The ones who pay aren't. The brands. They're the families living paycheck to paycheck. The seniors watching medical bills climb. The children building habits on hollow promises. Food isn't just calories, it's trust. And when the toucan smiles while selling sugar, it betrays more than the body. It betrays the bond between consumer and company. But if Fruit Loops can double the sugar limit while pretending to be fruit, what happens when marshmallows get a seat at the breakfast table? The next cereal doesn't just flirt with candy. It practically is candy. Lucky Charms. Bright moons, pink hearts, green clovers. Lucky Charms has always promised magically delicious mornings. With its leprechaun mascot and candy-coloured marshmallows, it markets itself as a playful treat children can enjoy, while parents smile at the supposed whole grain base. The brand leans on nostalgia, echoing Saturday mornings with cartoons and bowls of pastel-coloured joy. But beneath the charm lies a troubling truth. This is candy disguised as breakfast. The sharp turn came in 2022 to 2023, when thousands of consumer complaints were filed to the FDA's CFSAN Adverse Event Reporting System, CAERS, about nausea, vomiting, and stomach pain linked to Lucky Charms. While investigations stopped short of confirming a single contaminant, the reports were numerous enough to draw mainstream coverage from outlets like CNN and Washington Post. As of 2024, no clear contaminant has been confirmed, but the cloud of doubt lingers, and trust in the brand has never fully recovered. Pair this with the nutrition profile, and the case grows heavier. Lucky Charms contains over 12 grams of added sugar per serving, twice the new USDA limit for school-approved cereals, April 2024. For a cereal heavily marketed to children, this is less breakfast and more sugar hit. The everyday pain point is visible in classrooms across America. Picture a 7-year-old who eats Lucky Charms before school. By mid-morning, the marshmallow rush crashes, leaving fatigue, irritability, and trouble focusing. For families already struggling with hyperactivity or attention issues, the combination of sugar and artificial dyes, yellow 5, blue 1, red 40, adds fuel to the fire. In April 2024, the California Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, OEHA, reiterated its concerns that artificial food dyes may worsen behavioral problems in sensitive children. That magical bowl may be stacking the deck against kids before the school day even starts. Here, the motif shifts to irony, the cereal box as a stage magician's trick. Bright marshmallows pull the eye, while the hand hides the truth. Processed grains and additives. Let's call it what it is. Candy for breakfast. The question that lingers. If we'd never accept marshmallows as a standalone breakfast, why do we accept them when they come with cartoon leprechauns? There are ways out. A mother in Kroger can skip the Lucky Charms and grab plain oats, then let her kids add raisins or apple slices. The fun of color and sweetness is still there, but natural, traceable, and without the behavioral risks. For low-income families, bulk oats with frozen fruit often cost less than boxed cereal, proving that healthier swaps don't have to break the bank. The deeper lesson is about betrayal of trust. Food marketed directly to children should meet a higher standard, not a lower one. When magic masks sugar and chemical dyes, the cost is paid not by corporations but by children, parents, and teachers dealing with the fallout. Breakfast sets the tone for the day. What starts as charm can quickly become chaos. And here's the cliffhanger. If marshmallows can pass as breakfast, what happens when chocolate chips and cookies enter the cereal aisle? The next box blurs the line between dessert and breakfast entirely. Cookie Crisp. Cookies for breakfast? That's not a joke. It's the entire marketing hook of Cookie Crisp. With its mischievous mascot and chocolate chip-shaped cereal bits, the brand leans into the fantasy that kids can have dessert first thing in the morning, and parents will smile because technically it's cereal. Commercials have long celebrated the rebellion, painting it as harmless fun. But behind the playful cartoon is a nutritional profile closer to the cookie jar than to a healthy breakfast. The numbers don't lie. As of May 2024, Consumer Reports flagged multiple kids' cereals, including cookie-shaped varieties, as nutritional red flags due to excessive added sugars and ultra-processing. Consumer Reports, May 2024. A single serving of Cookie Crisp delivers about 13 grams of added sugar, more than double the USDA's school meal limit of 6 grams per ounce, April 2024. Pair that with refined corn and wheat flour, and you have a product engineered for quick spikes and crashes in blood sugar. For adults, it's a recipe for mid-morning fatigue. For children, it's a setup for attention lapses, tantrums, and long-term risks of metabolic disease. The everyday motif is brutally simple: the blurred line between the breakfast table and the dessert tray. Imagine a truck driver on a tight budget buying Cookie Crisp because it feels indulgent yet affordable. He pours a bowl before hitting the road, only to crash in energy halfway through the shift. Or picture a child starting the day with cereal that's essentially mini cookies. The sugar high may carry them through recess, but teachers are left to manage the crash. Here, the metaphor is damning. Cookie Crisp isn't breakfast at all. It's dessert in disguise. The smiling wolf mascot waves kids past parental defenses, making sugar feel like playtime. But the lingering question is sobering. If we accept cookies as cereal, where does the line between nutrition and marketing vanish completely? The deeper concern is structural. According to the CDC 2024 update, nearly 20% of American youth are obese, with added sugars a leading dietary culprit. Low-income families, who often rely on cereals for affordable calories, are disproportionately affected. In these households, marketing tactics that normalize dessert for breakfast don't just harm health. They reinforce cycles of illness, fatigue, and rising medical costs. There are alternatives, and they don't require breaking the bank. A single parent in Kroger can skip Cookie Crisp and grab store-brand plain oats, adding a spoonful of peanut butter or sliced banana for flavor. The cost is often lower per serving, and the energy is stable, not spiking and crashing. The choice isn't glamorous, but it's protective, especially for children who deserve fuel, not gimmicks. The lesson here is stock. When food companies blur the line between treats and staples, consumers end up paying the price in health and trust. Cookie Crisp is a case study in how marketing can turn dessert into a daily habit, one bowl at a time. And here's the cliffhanger. If cookies can pass as cereal, what happens when candy itself sneaks onto the breakfast shelf? The next box doesn't even bother pretending. It's sugar in its purest form. Tricks. Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids. The slogan is burned into American pop culture. Trix cereal, with its rainbow spheres and mischievous rabbit, has sold itself as joy in a bowl for decades. The promise is innocence itself. Bright colors, fruity fun, childhood laughter. But when the rabbit chases the cereal, what he's really chasing is sugar wrapped in costume. The data reveals the trick. In April 2024, the USDA finalized its rule. Cereals in school meals must have less than or equal to 6 grams of added sugar per ounce. Tricks? A single serving delivers 12 grams of added sugar per ounce, double the federal standard. Add to that artificial dyes, yellow 6, red 40, blue 1, that California's OEHHA flagged in April 2024 as potentially contributing to behavioral issues in children. And the fun starts looking more like a science experiment. The fruit flavor is entirely artificial. There's no fruit, no fiber, just sugar, corn, and chemicals. The real-world impact is predictable but painful. A retired grandfather on a fixed income may buy tricks for his grandkids because it's cheap, colorful, and nostalgic. Yet what he's offering isn't nutrition. It's a sugar bomb that spikes their blood glucose, then leaves them cranky, tired, and less able to focus. For low-income families, the betrayal is sharper. What's sold as affordable joy is really a shortcut to health problems like obesity and type 2 diabetes. The CDC 2024 update estimates over 37 million Americans already live with diabetes, with older adults and low-income households disproportionately impacted. Cereal-like tricks doesn't just fill a bowl, it feeds into those statistics. Here, the motif becomes a masquerade ball. Trix shows up dressed as fruit, dancing under neon lights, but when the mask slips, it's just sugar in disguise. We can give it the biting nickname, sugar in costume. And the killer question emerges. If fruit can be replaced by chemicals in children's cereal, what does that say about the food system built around illusion? There is a way forward, though it requires unmasking the deception. Imagine a mother skipping tricks in the Kroger aisle, choosing plain whole grain cereal and letting her kids sprinkle on real blueberries or strawberries. The colors are natural, the sweetness comes from fruit, and the energy lasts past recess. For families watching every dollar, bulk oats with frozen berries often cost less per serving than brand name neon sugar. The swap is simple, but the symbolism is huge. Choosing truth over trickery. The lesson here is not just about breakfast, but about culture. When we normalize sugar masquerading as fruit, we normalize lies in the most basic contract of society, feeding our children. Trix has always been for kids, but in reality, it's kids who pay the highest price. And here's the final sting. If even fruit can be faked, what else on the grocery shelf is dressed up for deception? The cereal aisle isn't just about breakfast. It's a mirror of a food system where illusion sells and truth gets priced out. Honey Smacks. The name itself sounds innocent. Honey Smacks. Sweet, golden, almost homemade in its branding. The box beams with cartoon cheer, selling itself as a wholesome cereal kissed by honey. For decades, Honey Smacks has held its place in American kitchens as a fun breakfast option, marketed as if a drizzle of nature's nectar could balance out the sugar-coated reality. But the truth is far darker. Honey Smacks is less about honey and more about sugar in disguise. The real red flag came not from nutritionists, but from the CDC itself. In 2018, Honey Smacks was tied to a nationwide multi-state salmonella outbreak that led to over 130 reported cases and dozens of hospitalizations. Kellogg's issued a voluntary recall, pulling boxes off shelves, but the stain lingers. Fast forward to today, and the product continues to raise eyebrows, not for microbes, but for its sugar load. According to the EWG's 2024 review of breakfast cereals, Honey Smacks is one of the highest sugar cereals on the market, with over 20 grams of added sugar per serving. That's more sugar than a glazed donut, and yet it's still presented as a breakfast food. The everyday impact is sobering. Imagine a child eating Honey Smacks before school. Quick sugar rush leaves them buzzing with energy, only to crash by mid-morning. Teachers see the fallout: lack of focus, irritability, fatigue. For older adults, especially those on fixed incomes, It's even more insidious. High sugar intake is directly linked to higher risks of type 2 diabetes, kidney disease, and cardiovascular complications, according to the CDC's 2024 update on chronic disease prevalence. In communities with limited healthcare access, the innocent bowl of Honey Smacks can quietly stack the odds against long-term health. The motif here is betrayal masked by sweetness. Honey Smacks pretends to be nature's gift, when in reality it's a sugar bomb dressed in golden nostalgia. We can give it the biting nickname, the sweet assassin. It doesn't shout danger, it whispers it, spoon by spoon, box by box, until damage accumulates over years. And what about ethics? Food marketed heavily to children and families still carries one of the highest sugar counts in the cereal aisle. Where is the accountability? When Kellogg's recalled Honey Smacks in 2018, the company promised vigilance. Yet the nutritional profile remains a quiet scandal. To many parents, this feels like déjà vu. The system promises safety, but shelves tell another story. There is an alternative. Picture a family in Kroger skipping Honey Smacks and buying plain puffed rice or unsweetened cereal, then letting the kids drizzle in a teaspoon of real honey. The sweetness is natural, the control is theirs, and the sugar count drops dramatically. For low-income families, even store-brand oats with sliced banana cost less than Honey Smacks, making it not just the healthier choice, but also the cheaper one. The lesson is clear. When sweetness is marketed as innocence, consumers must look twice. Honey Smacks proves that what seems like honey comfort can, in truth, be a loaded weapon against health. And here's the cliffhanger. If something as wholesome as honey cereal hides this much sugar, what about the cereals that don't even bother pretending? The next one is a wolf in corn's clothing. Cornflakes. Cornflakes may be the most iconic breakfast cereal in America. First launched in the late 1800s as a health food, it became a staple across generations. Simple, crunchy, and marketed as wholesome. Kellogg's branding leaned heavily on the idea of purity. No excess sugar, just honest corn turned into golden flakes. For many families, cornflakes is more than a cereal. It's nostalgia in a box. But beneath that nostalgia lies a hollow truth. Modern cornflakes are no longer the virtuous health food of their origin story. According to the USDA's 2024 nutrient database, a serving of cornflakes contains almost no fiber, under 1 gram, even though fiber is crucial for heart health and digestion. Worse, the flakes are made from refined corn, stripped of nutrients and fortified artificially afterward. Nutritionists call this the illusion of health. Food that looks plain and trustworthy, but offers little more than fast-digesting starch. That starch converts rapidly into glucose, causing blood sugar spikes and crashes. The consequences in real life are easy to picture. A factory worker grabs cornflakes before a 10-hour shift, believing it's a safe choice. But by mid-morning, the energy fades, replaced by fatigue and irritability. For seniors on a fixed income, the lack of fiber is even more dangerous, leaving them vulnerable to constipation, poor gut health, and elevated risks of heart disease. The CDC's 2024 update on chronic disease emphasizes that insufficient fiber intake is linked with higher rates of diabetes and cardiovascular complications, particularly in older populations. Cornflakes, ironically, contributes little to the very problems it was once supposed to prevent. The motif here is emptiness. Cornflakes as a hollow shell of its reputation. It deserves the biting nickname, the hollow classic. It sells simplicity, but delivers little substance. The marketing suggests a back-to-basics cereal, when in reality it's a century-old illusion propped up by fortification and brand loyalty. There's also a moral twist. Kellogg's built its empire on the promise of health, yet today cornflakes functions more as a filler than a protector. Consumers trust it because of history, not performance. That misplaced trust is most harmful for low-income households, who buy cornflakes expecting safe nutrition, but receive a quick-digesting starch that undermines their health instead. Alternatives exist. Imagine a senior skipping cornflakes at Kroger and picking up steel-cut oats instead. With real fiber, slower digestion, and lower glycemic impact, the difference is life-changing. Even simple store-brand bran flakes provide more nutritional value than cornflakes ever could today. The lesson is unsettling. Nostalgia is not nutrition. Cornflakes shows how a product can ride on history while quietly failing to deliver what people need most. And here's the cliffhanger. If even the purest cereal of all time turns out to be hollow, what happens when we peel back the sugar-coated ones? The next box is not just empty, it's dangerous. We've just uncovered 9 breakfast cereals that look harmless, even wholesome, but hide truths that are anything but sweet. The biggest takeaway is clear. As long as these products remain on the shelves and are consumed every day, anyone, no matter how careful, can become a victim. This isn't just about labels or flavors. It's a reminder that even breakfast, the meal we trust the most, can betray us. And what about you? Which of these cereals did you once trust? And after today, would you still eat them? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the wake-up call someone else needs. If truth hides in your food, maybe it's time to ask what else is being hidden from you. So subscribe, not just for another video, but to stay awake in a world where even breakfast can't always be trusted.